Hi, my name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional traveler. Today we're at Scotts Bluff National Monument in Nebraska. We're going to check out to see what this monument has to offer. If you happen to be traveling through this part of the country, let's go check it out. Check out the video, see what it's like. Sweet, so I just went into the temporary visitor center behind me and checked out the little video that talks about why Scotts Bluff's important and why Chimney Rock to the east is important. You can see part of the Scotts Bluff National Monument behind me there. I'm going to actually go up on the road, and apparently you can drive up all the way on the bluffs, and there's tunnels and all sorts of crazy stuff that was built in the 1930s from the was it not California Conservation Corps, the Workers Corps that was put in place during the Depression to give some people some jobs. So if you take a little bit of time, pop into the museum, look around, pester the National Park staff or National Monument staff, I guess, with questions and learn about a little bit of stuff. And then also I'm gonna see if I can find the Rebecca Winters I guess grave. I mean, she's been dead a long time. It was pretty fascinating to say that, you know, 20,000+ people died on these trails, at least from Missouri all the way to Oregon and California and Salt Lake. So this was a major pass-through point, because after following the Platte River for a long ways of boring endless prairie that has slight undulations, you see this monument a long way off, and you see first, of course, Chimney Rock and then Scotts Bluff. It's like, yes, we're almost there, only over the Rocky Mountains. So that's why Scotts Bluff's actually apparently so important, because it was such a mileage post on the way to the west, whether you're going to Salt Lake, Oregon, or California. If you had to drag this all the way across the plains without a horse, ox, mule, or donkey, do you think you would make it? That was not an uncommon tool for people crossing the plains. Oh my gosh. The most primitive wagon, boy, this is definitely, if you're not tougher than a Boy Scout, if you're tougher than a prairie crew. I remember doing the Mormon Battalion Trail, seeing pictures of people hauling these, putting them on their shoulders or whatever, and literally, I'm not gonna push on it, but you've got this huge cart behind you full of your entire life's possessions, but more importantly, everything to keep you alive. And you grab this bar, you lift that sucker up, and we're gonna drag this from Missouri to California or Oregon or Salt Lake. Maybe more Salt Lake, I don't know. I mean, but you're getting persecuted, your family's getting killed, you have no hope. I guess, I mean, strike out and go across the country and do your best. Those people were tough. Get some people nowadays hooked up on their phone and everything, and you watching YouTube in your air-conditioned comfort, and you think, hey, we're gonna drag this wagon for a while. One other joy, I was listening to the audio tour that the park puts on here. You know, you could just call and listen to this, learn all about it. Check that out. Yeah, I forgot to mention that going across the prairie, it could be 100 degrees and 80% humidity. So besides the joy of hauling this or riding in one of those things, it was sweltering hot, but you had to make it when it was warm and get across the mountains in Wyoming and Idaho and Utah, and also in Oregon or Washington or maybe California to get where you want to go before the snow hits and you had to do the Donner Party thing. Man, those people, whoa, I'm tough, but whew, that's tough. Had a team of oxen. Apparently, I seem to remember in the history days that oxen were better if you're going a long way. Mule were better if you're going a shorter way. It's just apparently the way it worked for efficiency and whatnot. But imagine, first this animal has to carry this load. I mean, yeah, that's one tough animal. Whew. And each of them has that. And of course you had to get those on the oxen, so you had to lift them up over their head, shackle them in, chain it together, and you had this link bar here that kept the whole thing going. And that chain, I mean, what if that chain broke? What would you do? How much spare everything did you bring with you in your prairie wagon, huh? Not much in there, but your entire life fits in that thing. That's not a 26-foot U-Haul, that's for sure. It's really fascinating to check out these different prairie schooners. The classic Conestoga wagon back there, and this looks like a Cadillac compared to those things. I mean, it's huge. They have 6 oxen attached to this thing, and then people would actually, something would go wrong, they would fall under these wheels and get crushed, or have their legs broken, or arm, or oh gosh. It apparently was not an uncommon accident. So man, and you know, you've got months where this canvas has to survive, these wheels have to survive. I mean, I don't know what the back bucket's for, and this whole thing has to survive. Now check out the spring suspension. Oh, that's right, there is none. So imagine riding on this thing, bang, bang. I mean, the wood absorbs some shock, but gosh darn, those people must have taken a beating. Oh. If you had a more modest wagon, you had this guy, Conestoga style. That was your entire life in there, plus you riding on the thing wherever the seat would have been. Your barrels of food, supplies, your life, your cooking kettles, everything. So just imagine if this thing foundered in the river and fell over and all these possessions washed away. I mean, that would be a potentially lethal experience for people who had no woods experience heading out, trying to get out of the east, heading west. They still do that, I guess. And that is literally your home, and your way westward on solid non-suspension suspension. Imagine how jarring that would have been to ride over this, how often an axle would break or a spoke would break, and all of your life literally riding in this wagon to make it across. Whew. And an even lower grade wagon here, and I don't know what the axle grease holder. Yeah, axle grease holder, because that was just a wooden axle riding on some steel or whatever. Didn't have ball bearings or anything, at least for these things back then. So if you didn't put the axle grease on there, all of your precious possessions, that axle broke and you couldn't find a tree, it was over. Whew. And maybe some water or something on the side, who knows. And those people were freaking brave. Wow. So I'm going to take you up, drive up there, check it out. Eventually a new visitor center and visitation area is being built, but in the interim, whenever they get that, before they get that done, you can just pop it in the trailer and check out all the neat stuff. Let's go check this out. I mean, looks pretty interesting. Lots of historic geology. Apparently stuff comes out of the limestone, sandstone all the time. So let's go see what's up there. So you drive through this gate, go into a thing called the Summit Road. So apparently, wow, check it out. There's joggers and all sorts of stuff. You can take Saddle Rock Trail to the top, or you can be time efficient and just drive up there. But whatever you want to do, it's pretty cool. So let's check it out, and I'll film it and show you what it looks like. For crumbling rock, apparently. Watch it fall down and smashes your windshield. Cool. All through sandstone and limestone. Cool. Wow. Easier. I have to say this beats walking. I love my walking, but I have a lot of stuff to see. Boy, you can really see stuff up here. This is sweet. I guess after traveling the prairie, this is a big deal. Cool. Definitely don't want to bring an oversized vehicle on this road. Small bus, I guess. Sorry for the bouncy video, it's just the way it works. Cool. Alright. Do a little bluff walk. Take a park. There's the car park here. Check it out. Very cool. Something over there. Alright, there are two main trails it looks like. One's the South Overlook Trail, we'll hit that first. And then across the parking lot, I would assume is the North Overlook Trail. Hopefully we'll see something interesting. Looks like a very short walk. Nice paved path. So you can kind of look around. It's like a Japanese style. They like to pave their trails so you can spend more time looking around rather than looking at your feet and worried you're gonna trip and, you know, crack up or something. But we'll see what this is like for you. Alright, walking along here on the South Overlook Trail. You can see the trail down there. If you want to go through, you can actually go through that bluff. And there are different layers of limestone and sandstone and some iron oxide, and there's an ash layer from whatever destructive volcano blew up who knows how long ago. Sorry, I've got my glasses on, been kind of blinded by the sun and the landscape here, but you can see here when you walk out to the edge. It's probably not too bad, man. There's nothing. So you can see down there, it's not a cliff or anything, but you can really see the landscape here. I'm going to flip it around so you can see. When you look down there past the visitor center, you can see the wagons, and you can actually see the trail that slips on my finger. There's wagon ruts that cut through the area all the way back. Apparently there's quite a few wagon ruts that go through here, so I'll have to go see if we can find some more. So this is looking east, but a big thunderstorm's passing through, so unfortunately somewhere out there is Chimney Rock, but you can't see it because of the rain showers, but on a good clear day it should be quite visible. I mean, there's a little white tower out there, but that looks like a grain silo. I drove up from the south there, drove up through here, and I went over that little, I wouldn't say it's a pass, but a little road. Followed the highway, and Scotts Bluff is right over here. And so people pass this way, followed through this area, through the escarpment here, plowed through and went through this little pass, and then on to the west. The northern overlook trail looks a little bit longer, but I suspect we'll have some pretty awesome views. So we're gonna forge on, check this out too. The sign said half a mile, but maybe a half a mile loop. Took me 1 minute and 30 seconds to get to the first overlook, so who knows. I would not worry about that sign too much, and then drive all this way only to not go there. That would be kind of silly. It's a really good overlook. They say you can't go over because the cliffs are somewhat fragile, and you know, probably got tired of collecting bodies at the bottom. So please stay on the trail. Kind of rough and tumble, huh? Yeah. Ow! Ow! I just got bit by a deer fluoride biting fly. Jeez. Yeah, the plains. Beautiful, but got some mean bugs. And down there in the middle of the frame, you can see some of the old... Ow! Another bite. Down the middle of the frame, you can see some of the old wagon ruts. I don't know quite why they went to the base of this thing, but that's what they did. You can see them kind of cruise through there, coming from the east. Pretty cool. In the city of Scotts Bluff. Now this is pretty interesting. Apparently this pipe here, which is visible right up here, when it was placed in 1933, the top of the survey mark was completely level with the rock surface, but as you can see, from 1933 until 2019, there's actually quite a bit of erosion, so check that out. I'd say that's, I don't know, probably about almost 18 inches of erosion. So it's just a natural force that wears this thing away, and eventually it will all be gone. Pretty interesting. So apparently Scotts Bluff was named after Hiram Scott, an employee of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, and he died in the vicinity of the bluff in 1828. He ended up being abandoned by his companions because he was sick, and they said, sorry Charlie, we're not going to carry your dying carcass with us. So he perished here. Apparently his bones, according to the Park Service video, his bones were found a couple years later. And I'm not sure this wear channel in the sandstone has anything to do with it, but that's a monument. So back in the day, 1828, if you got sick and you couldn't travel on and people need to move, you were on your own. So the code of the West or the code of the Prairie Schooner. The lesson there, don't get sick. The thing about this trail here, a lot of times in national monuments and parks, the trails are just trails, but because of the erosion, they are completely paved with this nice asphalt grading, and that way you can walk around. It also doesn't erode the bluff because this is all like capstone, limestone, sandstone, something or other. It doesn't withstand very much abuse, so the park asks you, please stay on the trail, because human erosion apparently can wipe this place out pretty quick. So you stay on the trail. I'm gonna forge way down there where that couple is and check this out, see if we can finish this off for you. Limestone here, very hard, and then limestone there, but that might be sandstone. Oh yeah, that's still sandstone. And this is limestone, so much harder. So that's a cap rock over this much more easily eroded sandstone. It's pretty fascinating to have those different stacks up of layers and how that came to be. It's like a mini addition. So you have limestone and protecting the sandstone. To Rebecca Winters, the only first known woman to have died on the Oregon Trail. Actually, I guess the Mormon Trail there. An interesting little addendum to the Scotts Bluff National Monument is this grave marker next to the old line of the Union Pacific. When the Union Pacific first came through, apparently they had a line that would actually have mowed this grave marker over. Now, granted, the stone marker wasn't erected until 1902, but the woman who was buried here died in 1852. She developed or contracted cholera and died on the way. She was part of one of the Mormon settler pushes from Council Bluffs, Iowa, or wherever it was, out to Salt Lake, and she contracted cholera and died here. And apparently, according to the historical sign here, she had a very simple ceremony, as many died, and sadly she perished on the way. Her husband left her buried in the ground here, as he apparently continued west with a wagon train and settled in a place called Pleasant Grove, Utah. But the most interesting and compelling part of the story, I mean, other than the death, that is, not Union Pacific, Burlington Railroad surveyors, actually, as they were going along, found this marker, and they shifted the right-of-way ever so slightly so they didn't obliterate the marker. So it was actually very thoughtful of them not to destroy this marker. But the original wagon hoop from the marker is still here. And you can see, hopefully you can read it there, Rebecca Winters, aged 50 years. There you go. So lots and lots and lots of people died on the Oregon and California trails and the Mormon trail, but this particular woman died August 15th, 1852. She was 50 years old, and she was a daughter of one of the soldiers in the Revolution, the American Revolution. Just kind of mind-blowing. So it was kind of compelling to see the train tracks here, and now the modern train tracks are, I don't know, about 7,500 feet away. Trains run here constantly carrying coal and whatever else, east and west, across America. So this is really a part of history. If you've ever played the game the Oregon Trail, I always died on that thing. I don't know. I haven't died yet doing what I do, but I haven't had to try and drag a wagon across the prairies of America either. So Rebecca Burdick was wife of Hiram Winters, so she was Rebecca Winters, and she perished in this spot. Oh gosh, 1852, 160, 170 years now almost. So definitely a tragic death, but sadly not uncommon for people. And as you can hear, people love their loud vehicles here, and I don't know, sounds like a good time. But you might just have a moment of silence when you come here to enjoy this marker. It's not really an enjoyable gravesite other than to respect and enjoy the history of someone who literally gave it her all and unfortunately didn't make it, and the family had to move on. So when you have the chance to go to Scotts Bluff National Monument, or 20 miles away is Chimney Rock, this is a really unique monument because there are bodies buried all up and down the Oregon, California, and Salt Lake Mormon trails. And a lot of times the bodies were buried along the trails, so the wagons would tamp the dirt down so the coyotes and badgers and whoever else didn't dig up the bodies. It was really gruesome because you see a body, it's all dug up, you're like, oh. So people learn pretty quick to do that. So if you have the chance, it's like 4.5 miles away from the monument. It's not far at all. It takes maybe 10 minutes to get here. Highly recommend it. And you can come over to see the mighty Platte River as it makes its way across Nebraska. So Scotts Bluff National Monument's actually quite worthwhile to check out just because of the history. I mean, even though it's just a sandstone, limestone bluff, pretty much in the middle of like the prairie, because when you look west here towards Wyoming, somewhere out there is Laramie Peak. Laramie Peak. And you can see part of the bluffs here. Those bluffs are a little bit different, and then the farther ones, but when you look to the east, you know, that's where you head that way, the Rocky Mountains, but to the east, boom, nothing, baby. So you'll notice the storm cloud doesn't look very friendly. It does look pretty, very photogenic, but gotta be careful out here. I don't know, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes would really be a bummer, but Chimney Rock is 20 miles out there somewhere based on that arrow, but unfortunately I can't see it because of the rain and thunder showers, but that's okay. So if you have the chance and you're headed anywhere near Scotts Bluff, I mean, I would definitely check it out just for the historical value, and the views are actually pretty spectacular. I bet you on a very clear day when you can see to the horizon and you can see the infinite vastness of the prairies, but you can see into the Wyoming and you start seeing the Rocky Mountains. That's like, ooh, yeah, this was pretty good. Now, not so good, because those way back when people wrote guidebooks just like we do today. I mean, I've written a ton of guidebooks about the solar eclipse in 2024, or the total solar eclipse in 2024. So people wrote guidebooks so you wouldn't get lost, or at least try to, and make your way across. Of course, you know, back then you couldn't just punch up your phone and look, say, hey, is this legit or not? I mean, you had to really take things on a wing and a prayer. I mean, and the Park Service said that over 20,000 people perished on the way. And then Hiram Scott, like I said before, is the guy that is the bluff's theoretically named after. He died, and his bones were found 2 years later because he was sick and he couldn't make it. So his crew said, Sue, dude, sorry, we got to keep going. Because in fact, it was interesting reading one of these signs over here, that one that said people actually often did not climb to the bluff simply because they had to keep carrying on, because they had a limited amount of food to eat and limited amount of supplies and animals and all this stuff. So even though, I mean, you travel 600 plus miles over the prairie, I would think, like, look, I'm going to take an hour, hike up this, look around, check it out, and then hike back down. So 2 hours, you know, maybe, and then get out of here. After traveling that far, I don't know, maybe you're sick of it and you want to head west, but you still got a long way to go. You got to get through the Rocky Mountains. I've been on the Immigrant Trail in Wyoming. It's super slow, 2 hours over that long a trip of months. Trust me, that won't wreck your day. But anyway, when you've come across Scotts Bluff, it's definitely worth driving up to check this national monument out. I highly recommend it. My name's Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional traveler. Please like and comment on the video. Subscribe to the channel. It helps support me bring more of these fun and entertaining, sometimes wacky videos to you. So please support me on Venmo, PayPal, and Patreon. Thank you very much for watching.